All right, so we're back and ready to jump another.
Yeah, looking forward to this one.
This time we're tackling, well, it's a bit of a mess, honestly. It's the whole Brandon Sanderson and thing.
Yeah, definitely messy.
I mean, have you been following this?
Of course. How could you not? It's everywhere.
Yeah, and our listeners have been sending in so many notes and thoughts. We've got articles, even a video essay that, well, it gets pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to try to unpack all of this.
I think it's really going to highlight some deeper tensions that we see.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, kind of simmering below the surface of like the whole fantasy community.
Okay, so for anyone who maybe hasn't been obsessively refreshing their Twitter feed like we have, let's do a super quick.
Okay, sounds good.
So we've got Brandon Sanderson, big name, right? Author of Mistborn, the Spermlight Archive.
Right, yeah, huge.
And then Daniel Greene, he's the guy behind that like mega popular YouTube channel all about fantasy books, reviews, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, why is everyone freaking out about a follow or unfollow on social media? But seriously, in the online fantasy world, that stuff is a big deal. It's like...
It's symbolic.
Yes, it's like suddenly switching lunch tables in high school. Everyone notices.
Totally.
So yeah, high stakes. And this particular case is even trickier because of the whole, the situation.
Yeah, sensitive situation.
Yeah, so remember, Greene was accused of sexual assault.
Right.
And although those accusations, they kind of fell apart later, a lot of people, Sanderson included, initially unfollowed Greene on social media, just kind of like, stepping back.
Distancing.
Yeah, exactly. But then things calmed down and Sanderson refollowed him and oh, good.
That's when the real drama started.
Exactly. It's like everyone was like glued to Sanderson, waiting to see what he'd do.
The pressure was on.
Yeah, and when that refollow happened, boom. Huge debate, like online responsibility, cancel culture, this pressure on public figures.
Right, like they have to take a stance on everything. Every single content.
So for this deep dive, we're focusing on this one a video essay, really. It's by a self-published fantasy author. And let me tell you, he is not holding back.
Ooh, sounds juicy.
Yeah, he's calling out both Sanderson and Greene, but he's really going in on Sanderson.
Oh, wow.
What's interesting is how he frames the whole thing, right? He's like this outsider fighting against what he calls the quote-unquote woke ideology that he thinks has like infected the entire mainstream publishing industry.
Interesting. It's like that, classic us versus them mentality.
Yeah, and it totally colors how he sees everything. He's basically saying Sanderson's this like corporate sellout, more worried about his brand, his clout, than doing what's right.
Wow.
He even says Sanderson only refollowed Greene when it was safe, like he was afraid of the quote-unquote woke mob.
Ooh, that's a loaded term.
Oh, for sure. And this whole selling out thing, that's a big one, especially for artists, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like this fear, like you're losing your integrity.
Yeah, your vision, your art, just to make money.
Yeah, selling your soul, basically.
Exactly. He's saying Sanderson made a deal with the devil, got his bestseller status, and bam, no more soul.
And for some people listening, especially those who already feel kind of disillusioned with mainstream publishing,
oh yeah,
that message is really going to resonate.
For sure.
Yeah.
And the author, he does shy away from strong language. Like he actually compares the publishing industry to something satanic at one point.
Whoa. Okay, that's a bit much.
Right. Like, does signing a book deal really equal, pledging allegiance to the dark lore?
Right. Is it that deep?
I guess it depends who you ask.
I guess so, yeah.
And then he has this one line, and it really stuck with me. He says, he will sell you out for clout. That is who these people are. It's like he's making Sanderson out to be this, like, master manipulator, pulling all the strings.
Yeah. It plays into that whole, distrust of the establishment thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's like big publishing is the enemy.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And he paints this picture of it, right? He's saying it's controlled by these woke gatekeepers. They push their agenda, silence anyone who disagrees. And the self-published authors, they're the real hero, the ones defending, real fantasy against this, like, wokeness invasion.
It's that culture war framing again. It's so powerful because it's simple, right?
Yeah.
Good versus evil, pick a side.
Right. Are you with us or against us?
Exactly.
And it's a good story. It's compelling. You can see why people buy into it.
Yeah.
But we have to remember, this is just one guy's take. And he's got an axe to grind with the mainstream publisher. Right?
Yeah, for sure. And while we can, hear his anger, we need to understand where it's coming from.
Yeah. Is it just ideology or is there something more personal going on?
Right. Good question.
Yeah. Something to think about. It feels like there's a lot more to this story than meets the eye, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
And remember, we've got all those articles, all your notes to help us figure this out. We're going to try to get to the bottom of this, see what's really going on.
I'm ready to dig in.
Let's do it.
It's funny, as we go through all this, there's this thing that really stands out to me.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Well, the author is super harsh on Sanderson, right?
Oh, yeah.
But he seems to give Greene a path, which is weird because Greene was the one at the center of it all, right? The controversy, the accusation.
Right. It's like he's way more focused on attacking Sanderson and this whole woke thing he sees in publishing than on, the actual stuff with.
Exactly. It's like Greene's almost a victim in his story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he's been, quote unquote, canceled over and over, no support from the community.
Interesting.
And he puts Greene and self-published authors like himself in the same group. Like they're the outsiders fighting again in the big bad publishing world.
Right, united against the enemy.
Exactly.
He even says something about Greene having skeletons in his closet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like things are being used to control him, but then he doesn't say what they are.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Right, it's all mysterious and conspiratorial, like there are these shadowy figures silencing the truth-telling.
It all plays into that us versus them thing,
Oh, totally, they are out to get us.
Exactly.
And it's not just about Greene, right? He does the same thing with Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, he says Sanderson and Greene only spoke up about Gaiman's supposed misconduct when it was safe. Like, they were more worried about their image than doing the right thing.
It's like no matter what you do, you're wrong, right?
Yeah, you can't win.
It shows how much pressure public figures are under.
Oh, for sure, especially with social media.
Yeah, you're constantly walking this tightrope trying to please everyone.
And one wrong step, boom, you're canceled.
Exactly.
So he also goes on about how Greene only promotes books from certain publishers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ones like fit his woke agenda, supposedly. And of course he says he's been blacklisted because of his beliefs.
This is where this tricky, right? This culture war thing is too simple. Publishing is complicated.
Yeah, it's not just about ideology.
Right? There's talent, hard work, luck, all sorts of things.
And just getting a book deal, traditional or self-published, tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And publishers, their businesses, they want to sell books, that's it.
Right. It's not some woke.
Exactly.
He also gets hung up on Sanderson saying his social media team unfollowed Greene without him knowing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's like, why would you have a woke team in the first place? Like, Sanderson's responsible no matter what.
It raises a good question, though, right? About, responsibility in the digital age.
Oh, yeah, like with all these teams, publicists, whoever, managing your online stuff.
Yeah, where does the line blur? Who's actually in control?
It's like having someone else write your tweets for you, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. But as the author says, you can't just delegate everything.
Yeah, you got to be involved.
Especially if you have a big platform. You have to shape the message.
He even says Sanderson should have been a leader and supported Greene publicly, even if it meant going against the woke mob.
Whoa. Strong words.
Yeah, like silent trail.
There's a lot to that, right? We want leaders to stand up.
Yeah.
But it's complicated. These situations, they're messy. There's no easy answer.
And speaking out can have consequences, right?
Of course, especially for someone like Sanderson, with his career, his fans.
Yeah, one wrong move, you could lose everything.
And the author's saying that's exactly it, that Sanderson's too scared to risk it all.
Too scared to lose his ticket.
Exactly. It all goes back to that selling out accusation.
It's like the author's projecting his own frustrations onto Sanderson. If I were him, I'd do it differently.
Yeah, I get that. But is it fair to judge? We don't know what Sanderson was going through.
We were in his shoes.
Right. We don't know his pressures, his relationships, anything.
It's easy to criticize from the outside.
Right, when you're not the one in the spotlight.
And this isn't just about Sanderson, right? This whole online scrutiny thing, it's everywhere.
Yeah, every public figure deals with it.
It's like you have to have a perfect opinion on everything instantly.
And if you don't, you're labeled attacked.
It's exhausting, honestly.
It makes it impossible to have real conversations.
So the author ends his video with this call to action.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he wants everyone to wake up and see the truth about public.
He's the lone hero fighting the system.
Exactly. It's classic, right? Create an enemy, rally the troops.
It's effective.
But again, it's just one perspective.
We have to remember that.
Just because he's loud doesn't mean he's right.
Right. No one has a monopoly on the truth.
So, okay, we've spent a lot of time on this guy's take, the whole culture war thing, but what does it all mean, bigger picture?
Yeah, that's the interesting part, right?
What does this tell us about, power dynamic, the anxieties in fandom, in publishing?
It goes way beyond just these few people. This is about how social media has changed everythting.
The whole relationship between creators and fans.
Exactly. It's a minefield now.
Yeah, full of pressure, expectations, and, a lot potential for things to blow up. It's like authors are always on display now,
Yeah, totally.
Everything they do online, every, comment, who they follow, it's all analyzed, under a microscope.
It's true. No privacy.
And this whole thing with Greene, it just shows how, social media blows things out of proportion.
Right. Something small becomes huge.
It's like that game, Telephone, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Where the message gets all messed up as you pass it along.
Right, totally.
Except now it's happening online with thousands of people, everyone adding their own spin.
And it affects everyone involved.
Well, yeah.
It pushes this black and white thinking, you're with us or against us.
Yeah, no room for nuance.
Right, no critical thinking, just pick a side and fight.
And it's easy to get sucked in, right? You feel like you have to be outraged, take a stand.
It's exhausting.
It makes it hard to actually talk about things, Have a real conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's what this author is doing, maybe without realizing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's feeding off that frustration, that need for simple answers.
When the world feels so chaotic.
Exactly. He's giving people someone to blame, a way to make sense of it all.
Like it's all the woke agenda's fault.
Right. But as we've seen, it's way more complicated than that.
These culture war narratives, they oversimplify things.
And they can be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they stop us from actually dealing with the real issues.
So, okay, big picture time. If we move past the Sanderson-Greene drama, what have we learned? What should our listeners be thinking about moving forward?
I think the big takeaway is, think for yourself.
Don't just believe everything you...
Right. Critical thinking, media literacy, that's crucial now.
Especially online.
Yeah, there's so much information out there. You got to be able to sort through it.
Fact from fiction, bias, the whole 9 yards.
Don't be passive. You have to actively shape your own understanding.
Ask questions, right? Who's saying this? Why? What's their angle?
Exactly. And remember, there's rarely one right answer.
These situations, they're messy.
No easy villains, no perfect heroes.
And, even in fantasy, we can't escape reality.
Those anxieties, they're everywhere.
They influence the stories we tell, the stories we love.
This whole thing shows how connected everything is, right?
Publishing, social media, culture, politics, it's all intertwined.
So as you keep exploring fantasy books, shows, online, whatever, keep these things in mind.
Question everything.
Challenge your assumptions.
Don't let anyone tell you they have all the answers.
There's always more to learn.
Well said. This has been a lot to unpack.
It has.
Big thanks to our expert for helping us make sense of it all.
You're welcome.
And to you, dear listeners, as always, keep questioning, keep exploring.